Greetings, spirit beings, greetings, supreme being, straight from the universal peace room into your living room. This is Try Something.Vegetarian. I'm Ulrich Hoffman, and this is the broadcast. UN officials, US planning a tactical assault. We are possibly on the brink of World War III. Okay, so I was watching the Young Turks on YouTube. And basically that's where I picked this up. The information about the Jerusalem Post. So first let's start with an intro and then read the article. I haven't read it yet. But if I would have to guess, I think they've planned a third Jesuit world war to reduce the global population to 500 million and build a temple in Jerusalem. And that's also that red heifer prediction of the Hebrew scholars and rabbis. That perfect red Gentile cow born in Israel announces, prophesizes the coming of the Messiah after a global Armageddon. But Armageddon, basically you could argue that already happened. So, but some people, I watched Moshe today, some person named Moshe on YouTube, and he thinks that that it will be fought with horses and stuff, that all electronic equipment will be destroyed, possibly by an EMP. So let's do the intro also with the other intro. First, the more important intro. So I must first tell you all to be prepared with radiological water filter and storable food. And this is some more. These are some more ideas about it. So now is the time to start preparing if you want to survive what's coming.
We are possibly on the brink of World War III. Pompeo in Iran, U.S. considering range of options including military. CNN 3 hours ago, June 16, 2019, 22:33. We are going to survive this. Make sure defense systems and missile shields are ready. Put electronic devices you want to protect against EMP in a metal bin. Ground your car. Protect the battery. Remove batteries of electronic watches. Put them in the grounded metal bin as well. Prepare your prepper bag, helmet, gas mask, radiological water filter, iodine pills, first aid kit, weapons. Buy storable food. Get storable food as much as possible. Peanut butter, rice, dried peas, etc. Make sure you have some decent weapons to defend yourself and your family against possible enemy combatants. Buy supplies of medicine if required. Prepare colloidal silver, wheat. American Spirit, Tasnim News Agency verified _user at Tasnim News _ and spokesman of Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, OI, says production of low-enriched uranium will surpass 300 kilograms limit by next 10 days. June 27. Try Something Vegetarian 3, Monday, June 17, 2019, 21:31. Check my channel Try Something.Vegetarian on YouTube. Tasnim News Agency verified _user at Tasnim News _ and spokesman of Atomic Energy Organization of Iran, OI, says production of low-enriched uranium will surpass 300 kilograms limit by next 10 days. June 27. What is the current status of Iran's nuclear program? Irish Examiner middle. 7 hours ago, senior EU diplomat, back from Iran, shows support for nuclear deal. Radio Farda middle. 20 hours ago, why are we headed for a blow-up with Iran? It began when Trump scrapped the nuclear deal. USA Today middle. 14 hours ago, UN officials, U.S. planning a tactical assault in Iran. The Jerusalem Post middle. 5 hours ago.
So I wanted to begin this broadcast again with a warning that Trump should have an agreement with Putin before doing anything, otherwise it would escalate into a world war, but that may be their plan. So basically it's the satanic inversion. He claims that he hopes that we're not going to war with Iran, as if there's any reason for that, and they come up with all kinds of negative information about Iran, possibly totally fabricated, because the former Mossad slogan is also biblical, and it's by means of deception thou shalt do war. So these people might actually believe that their entity, their deity, wants them to create wars. And we see all these illegal wars in the Middle East, and that may have been to create permanent bases there for the Third Jesuit World War, to reduce the global population to a more controllable number, 500 million, and rule the world from Jerusalem. It's for a global government, satanic Luciferian, totalitarian global government that they want to impose. So they don't want people to vote over it, they just want to impose it. And they really want to enslave and annihilate a big part of humanity first. In theory, I have to add that because I'm a conspiracy factist, so then I can talk freely. So there are two things I want to read. One is the Irish Examiner. Do I also have that article here? Okay. Let's see which one I will read first. Because it depends on the status of that nuclear deal. If Trump ended that nuclear deal, is that deal still between Iran and other countries or not? That's what I was wondering, so that's why I googled nuclear deal status. So perhaps it's best to begin with that then, so that we have an idea before we read the other one about UN officials claiming US planning a quote tactical assault unquote in Iran. Okay, and you can all write something in the chat, then I can see it on my screen. But I doubt if anybody will see this broadcast if it's blocked by the algorithms or by hackers. It seems to be. So please like, subscribe, and share this important stuff on your timelines. I need people with lots of views that also tell their viewers about me, so that a snowball occurs and I get more and more views. To prevent this world war, of course, the first thing is to prevent it. That's the first phase. And if that succeeds, then we can invest more in controlling all factors that control aging. And we have to do that, otherwise death is inevitable for every living human and animal. As long as we don't control factors that control aging, which is possible because everything is energy, so we are molecules, and then with the scalar technology, people might find out how to alter molecules and alter matter, matter transformer or generator that can generate matter and also turn any type of matter into any other type of matter, because everything is energy. But they want to utilize it for themselves, maximum benefit, and they don't care if 7 billion people suffer to death. It's actually what they want. So the people that have tortured me with these remote torture weapons are extremely sadistic, ultra sadistic, and they are super criminals, so they only do it to good people, basically. And others have also made testimonies in which they talk about this thing they call satanic ritual abuse, SRA. So you can Google it for yourselves if you want to know more about it. But many people are extorted with this and misprogrammed, and the information they put out there is nonsense, also controlled opposition. So what is best, be prepared with a radiological water filter, storable food, and place a blast shelter, basically. If you're in a big city, you'd need a blast shelter, or move out of big cities, away from airports. And if you're below ground, then you're safe qua nukes, but not qua scalar weapons. So it could really be a type of Judgment Day thing with a neural network, voice of God weapon that's going to exterminate 7 billion people that perhaps have not done what they're supposed to. But basically, of course, it's programmed by humans, so it means it's privileging group members, Jesuits and Masons, probably, and scamming and hoaxing other people to benefit them. So they use these two tactics: problem, reaction, solution, and divide to conquer, divide to defeat. More about it in my previous broadcasts. And we need to prevent this world war, prevent mutually assured destruction, severe nuclear winter, to take that shortcut to controlling all these factors that control aging. And if it's planned by the Jesuits and Masons, then they have to be talked out of it, or people need to take over. And you could argue it's the job of the government also to do this. People that want to destroy the US and all other countries to impose a satanic Luciferian totalitarian global government, that's one thing, but to annihilate 7 billion people is another. And they've made this clear in book quotes and on their Georgia Guidestone. So I've attempted to press charges against these people, and now the people, perhaps the police officers were not allowed by these people with remote torture technology to let me press charges. So they can be extorted as well. And then it's possible that they die as well if they don't have a Tesla plasma shield. There is no hiding from the scalar technology, basically. And perhaps it was all a test to test if they would help with the population reduction, killing their fellow humans, or not, basically, to see who deserves to be in Olam Haba, the world to come, paradise, if you will. So people that have killed people can still save lives. Possibly the 23rd is a date that it could happen. 27th, the uranium enrichment deal that's not between Trump and Iran anymore is transgressed by Iran, and they will produce more enriched uranium or something. So let's first read about this nuclear deal. Is it still valid between Iran and other countries, or is it completely off the table now, I wonder? And if they transgress the deal, what means would they have to keep them to it, basically? And then I mean the UN, not Trump. I wonder.
Facebook, Twitter, Messenger, LinkedIn, WhatsApp. More Monday, June 17, 2019 to 4:04 p.m. Iran has announced it will exceed the uranium stockpile limit set by Tehran's nuclear deal with world powers in the next 10 days, further escalating tensions in the Middle East. The June 27 date comes ahead of a July 7 deadline for Europe to come up with better terms for Iran to stay in the accord.
So it's possible they do it before that already, because it's clear they don't want to allow Iran to produce a nuclear weapon is used as a false excuse, like they did with Iraq, where they used the same excuse, weapons of mass destruction, that they were producing, or that they would possess chemical weapons, and it was their reason to attack Iran. And now there are 1 million dead Iraqi civilians and depleted uranium children, of which I'm not going to show a picture because it's quite shocking, so then I don't have to put any limitations on this video. But you can Google it, so that's totally horrible, and that's a war crime committed by Netanyahu and Bush, basically. So the UN is a wolf in sheep's clothes. They are Luciferians more about it in my previous broadcasts as well. So they are in on creating this world war. You cannot really expect them to do what they're supposed to because of the remote torture weapon technology. Trust no one, nothing is what it seems, and make sure that you are prepped for a possible nuclear event that could be the 23rd already.
If that second deadline passes without any action, Iranian President Hossein Rouhani says the Islamic Republic is likely to resume higher uranium enrichment. Here is where Iran's nuclear program now stands. The nuclear deal. Donald Trump shows a signed presidential memorandum after delivering a statement on the Iran nuclear deal at the White House. Evan Vesai. Donald Trump shows a signed presidential memorandum after delivering a statement on the Iran nuclear deal at the
So Putin may be in on it, former KGB, now called FSB, and all intelligence agencies are Masonic and controlled by the Jesuits, according to Citizens Action Network on Facebook. And it's from behind the scenes, so they may lie about it and pretend it's not true, because they want to keep it secret so they can get away with anything. And that's also in theory, so perhaps it's total nonsense. Please let me know in the comments. And I hope that this is not gonna happen, that they're not stupid enough to self-annihilate and take us all out with themselves, though they have a chance to control all factors that control aging in time. Because everything is energy, everything is possible. So never believe in it, never let them tell you that it's impossible to control factors that control aging to achieve negligible senescence. There's Nostradamus, the Moshiach, Third Temple, the Nuke, and is there any way to prevent this scenario from unfolding? If you know a way, let me know in the comments. Perhaps protests, uniting the people, letting them know this is an obvious plan. So 7 billion lives are at stake, so it's worth the thought, I think, to ponder upon for a while.
The White House. Evan Vesai. Iran struck the nuclear deal in 2015 with the United States, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Russia and China. The deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, grew out of secret talks U.S. President Barack Obama's administration held with Iran after Mr. Rouhani, a relative moderate, took office. Iran agreed to limit its enrichment of uranium under the watch of UN inspectors in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. International businesses rushed to do deals with Iran, most notably the billion-dollar sales by Airbus and Boeing. President Donald Trump, who campaigned on a promise of tearing up the deal because it did not address Iran's ballistic missile program or its involvement in regional conflicts, withdrew America from the accord in May 2018. That halted promised international business deals and dealt a heavy blow to Iran's already anemic economy. In the time since, the Trump administration has said any country that imports Iranian crude will face U.S. sanctions. Iran's nuclear facilities. 3 versions of domestically built centrifuges are shown in a live TV program from Natanz, an Iranian uranium enrichment plant. via app. 3 versions of domestically built centrifuges are shown in a live TV program from Natanz.
Sorry that the volume was too loud. I've adjusted it now. So I just read it a bit to know what was read. The June 27 date comes ahead of July 7 deadline for Europe to come up with better terms for Iran to stay in the accord. If that second deadline passes without any action, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani says the Islamic Republic is likely to resume higher uranium enrichment. If he was elected with electronic voting, then I don't accept that voting result, and then I don't accept him as a president, but neither Trump nor others that were supposedly elected with this electronic Tesla voting technology. And there's also a connection between Trump and Trump's uncle or whatever and Tesla documents. Add documents so that we don't get Elon Musk's Tesla car. John G. Trump. Trump reviewed and analyzed the papers of Nikola Tesla when the inventor died. His nephew, Donald John Trump, became the 45th President of the United States in 2017. In 1943, as technical aide in Division 14 of the NDRC, Trump reviewed and analyzed the papers of Nikola Tesla when the inventor died in a New York City hotel. The research was completed on behalf of the Alien Property Custodian Office in Washington, D.C. From February 1944 to the end of the war in Europe, Trump was the director of the BBRL. During this time, Trump also served in the Advisory Specialist Group on Radar, advising USAAF Air Force or whatever General Carl Spaatz on navigational radar, precision bombing radar, and also defenses against the German cancer radars found in their night fighters and in their flak units. But that's interesting. So Iran may leave that accord if they don't come up with better terms. Well, I'd advise them to wait with crossing that uranium enrichment thing. Stop enriching for a while to prevent an attack. I think that Trump would definitely attack if they don't halt enrichment. That he has stated, and many others as well, that they supposedly want to prevent Iran from producing a nuclear weapon. Though they don't have evidence of one nuke, and if they don't know the names of the people that attacked these cancer oil vessels, these tankers, then they can't prove anything, no matter who did it. So then it's wrong to blame a whole country like Iran, so they're scapegoating Iran, and I think that these floods recently were no coincidence either. But okay, again, I think they've planned this, and who could prevent this, and what could people do to prevent a world war? what will Putin say next. Or will he not respond until they attack the Iranian nuclear facilities or whatever they've planned? Anyway, if they're gonna do this, they have to keep the safety level high for themselves, and then it's key not to follow illegal orders to bomb innocent civilians or to nuke innocent civilians. You can pretend that you will do it until the moment comes and then simply refuse and make sure that no one else pushes that button or flips that switch. Because all you would do is kill innocent civilians on the other side. You wouldn't get the people that started this war or that are responsible, that may be hiding in underground cities, according to that Eminem rap we can see on YouTube with 50 million views. Trump will be in Air Force One when the bombs drop. And that could be true. There is a time-traveling neural network, I think. I've talked about this in my previous videos. I've had precognitive visions. If it's my own ability, I doubt it. And I think that it's possible no one has that ability. It's a neural network that may have helped people through the ages, basically. And then there's that book I mentioned in many videos because it's relevant when there's a book written in 1893, long before Trump came to power. That's called Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, and 1900 or The Last President is another book by Ingersoll Lockwood. So it's not looking good.
An Iranian uranium enrichment plant, Natanz, in Iran's central Isfahan province, hosts the country's main uranium enrichment facility, located underground. Iran has one operating nuclear power plant in Bushehr, which it opened with Russia's help in 2011. Under the accord, Iran reconfigured a heavy water reactor so it could not produce plutonium and agreed to e-paper postal delivery photos competition's newspaper archive advertise with us shop death notices fine day. Iran has announced it will exceed the uranium stockpile limit set by Tehran's nuclear deal with world powers in the next 10 days, further escalating tensions in the Middle East.
Well, I don't know if it was wise to announce this before the nuclear deal ends, basically. The July 7th deadline for Europe to come up with better terms for Iran to stay in the accord. So that's a key date, basically, and the 27th as well. So also, yeah, I already advised you all to buy cancer oil as well, but of course storable food and a radiological water filter are vital. It's possible none without a radiological water filter can survive. People need water regularly, daily, and food about once a month or so. You can also still buy bottled water or put water in bottles so that you have water for a couple of weeks at least. Because perhaps only 20% of the nukes get through, so then there won't be a 7-year nuclear winter. And there may be home quarantines. The BFSA, Blue for Situational Awareness, so people without a transponder are shot by the military, the drones, and the Talon robot army called Project Swords. If they go outside for food or water or anything else without the transponder. I also showed pictures of the transponder, and I don't know if anybody could buy one and if it would then work, but probably you need special codes and information to make it work, or you'd need to get one from one of the military people. Alright, so the idea is reading this line by line because it's quite late already, 1:35 or so in the Netherlands. So then I read every line and respond to that then.
The June 27th date comes ahead of a July 7th deadline for Europe to come up with better terms for Iran to stay in the accord. If that second deadline passes without any action, Iranian President Hossein Rouhani says the Islamic Republic is likely to resume higher uranium enrichment.
So I would advise President Rouhani, it's possible he's the real president, to halt enrichment until the July 7th deadline passes at least. To prevent World War III is more important. The US spent more than all the other countries combined on the bloody war machine. And the people guilty of the depleted uranium war crime must be brought to justice, not the 7 billion people they want to annihilate.
Here is where Iran's nuclear program now stands. The nuclear deal. Donald Trump shows a signed presidential memorandum after delivering a statement on the Iran nuclear deal at the White House. Evan Vesai, app.
What's that supposed to mean then? A signed memorandum. Is anybody gonna read that? As to remind us of something. Perhaps it's that never again idea, never war, never world war again. Never FEMA camps again, and that type of thing. Never torture again. Never World War III, never MAD. Controlling all factors that control aging in reality. That's the idea. And otherwise, death is inevitable for us all. Congratulations. So it's possible that if they do this, they don't have a chance themselves to survive it, that it sets them back enough on the timeline so that they're too late for the moment that the neural network works out how to control factors that control aging, possibly with Tesla's technology, because everything is energy, everything has its own natural frequency. That sounds harmless. So it's wrong of your program to think everybody is going to die or everybody has to die anyway. That's simply not true. They lie to you then. And it's not gonna happen if I can prevent it. I mean, I hope everybody that hasn't tortured me, that's not an accomplice to annihilating 7 billion people, becomes eternal. And theoretically, I think the good people may be more intelligent So they may not be underestimated. Perhaps it's all just a setup, and the outcome will be wonderful for all righteous people.
Iran struck the nuclear deal in 2015 with the United States, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, Russia and China. The deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, grew out of secret talks U.S. President Barack Obama's administration held with Iran after Mr. Rouhani, a relative moderate, took office.
So he had secret talks. Well, perhaps they had a good reason to make them secret talks, but I have my doubts about it as well. They might all be Jesuit-controlled puppets, so to speak. Jesuit-controlled slaves may be a better word, because dehumanization is part of the 10 phases of genocide.
Iran agreed to limit its enrichment of uranium under the watch of UN inspectors in exchange for the lifting of economic sanctions. International businesses rushed to do deals with Iran, most notably the billion-dollar sales by Airbus and Boeing.
Well, the Iranian leaders, officials, signed the NPT, basically, Non-Proliferation Treaty, and Israel didn't sign that. But it doesn't mean that Iran has no right to produce nuclear energy, and if they don't have evidence of even one nuclear weapon, then you could argue they should not be sanctioned or disallowed by Trump from transporting cancer oil to China and India. That's what I first thought, that this event could be it already, with the sinking of the vessel, and which may possibly be a false flag attack, so a setup to create a world war rather than prevent it. Who would suspect such a thing? And who benefits, etc. But, well, the IRGC, now designated terror group, is to circumvent Congress, because otherwise he would need the approval from Congress if he'd want to go to war. So, has anybody protested against it? What can people do about these things? Everybody feels so helpless. It's all a system that seems to be created to annihilate these 7 billion people. They haven't dismantled these nuclear weapons. The veils, the truths, protective layers might as well be veils, protective layers of some lie, so that when they finally reach that lie, they all think, oh, that's the truth. Oh well. But okay, I digress. That was the word I was looking for in my previous broadcast as well. I said divergence. Diverge. Anyway, then I remember that also. How is that possible, you know? Anyway, so what was I talking about? That this time it's about Iran not living up to a nuclear deal that Trump abandoned. And if they do that before the deal ends, that could lead to sanctions, of course. That would be utterly stupid and regrettable. Unless they're in on creating this world war. And I think they will benefit from it somehow. And then I'm talking about the leaders, not Iran as a whole country. They've been saying stuff about Iran that's simply impossible. Not all Iranian people are the attackers of the vessel. For example, the tanker, the cancer oil tanker. To blame Iran of that is simply wrong. And I think that must stop, that mainstream media... You could argue we should boycott these mainstream media websites that do that, basically, so to find out also who's really behind it and who's really to blame. And if it's a false flag, then it's also wrong to blame the US, if it's Mossad or some other intelligence agency or group, Jesuits or Masons. And also names of the wrongdoers, basically. But their technique seems to be hiding that information so they can blame whole countries and create a world war. It seems like the mainstream media are in on it.
President Donald Trump, who campaigned on a promise of tearing up the deal because it did not address Iran's ballistic missile program or its involvement in regional conflicts, withdrew America from the accord in May 2018, that halted promised international business deals and dealt a heavy blow to Iran's already anemic economy. In the time since, the Trump administration has said any country that imports Iranian crude will face U.S. sanctions.
So any country that's importing it as well. It's China and India, which are both countries that hold most people of all countries in the world. China is 1, India is 2. That's why 75% of us are mulatto and only 25% of us are black and white. And I didn't have enough time. It's quite hard to find out how the 25% is divided. Anyway, that's 1.4 billion people in China, 1.4 billion in India, and in comparison, the third largest country qua population, the US, has only 327 million people, so that's 4 times less than India and China each has. Or half is better, I think. Iran's nuclear facilities. So this heading is about that. This is the part that we're gonna read now is about their Iran nuclear facilities. Perhaps it's best if I read it myself. 3 versions of domestically built centrifuges are shown in a live TV program from Natanz, an Iranian uranium enrichment plant. IRIP via AP. Well, for all we know, it is sawed off some pipes and they put some stickers on it to make people believe it's uranium. But okay, domestically built centrifuges. So these are centrifuges. Okay. Reminds me of a metal bin you can put your electronic equipment in, so it's EMP resistant. It has to be grounded, so a cable has to be attached, and that must be connected to, for example, a heater that is grounded. And electricity, the grid might be down after that. Perhaps they've planned that, they've also done tests. Another thing happened today. What was it? We had internet outage and a power failure in the US, where millions of people were without electricity. Many people. So these may be exercises for the planned world war, kill switch implementation, etc. Natanz in Iran's central Isfahan province hosts the country's main uranium enrichment facility located underground. Iran has one operating nuclear power plant in Bushehr, which it opened with Russia's help in 2011. Okay. Well, basically I'm against nuclear energy, telluric power, let's see, solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, ocean energy. Sea energy is more efficient than wind energy. Biomass energy and hydroelectric power. Under the accord, Iran reconfigured a heavy water reactor so it could not produce plutonium and agreed to convert its Fordo enrichment site, dug deep into a mountainside, into a research center. Iran said on Monday it may stop the heavy water reactor reconfiguration. Tehran also operates a more than 50-year-old research reactor in Tehran. Iran's uranium stockpile. Under the terms of the nuclear deal, Iran can keep a stockpile of no more than 3,000 kilograms, 660 pounds of low-enriched uranium. That is compared to the 10,000 kilograms, 22,000 pounds of higher enriched uranium it once had. So that's only 30%. Or, no, it's less, I think, 10,000 kilograms, 300. That would have been 30% if it would have been 1,000. So, then it's 3% of the original or something. 3% of the original 10,000 kilograms. Well, you can do the math for yourselves. I'm high, so who cares? I'm just for preventing a world war, to create universal peace, because we're decreasing our chances of survival to practically zero if we would allow mutually assured destruction to occur, and people that have been tortured so severely that they want to annihilate humanity, perhaps, to go ahead and just do it all. So we can't just sit back and do nothing. If we do not act, we are acted upon. And I think that the government also has a task in this. But you have to watch out, because it's infiltrated by these Jesuits and Masons, and everybody has their own program. But there are infinite ways to prevent a world war and to create universal peace and to control all these factors that control aging, because everything is energy. So there are infinite ways to get there, and of course we're going to survive. perhaps our chances are highest. But if their stated goal is to reduce the global population to 500 million, then only taking China and India wouldn't cut it, because more than half of the population lives in all the other countries, I think. So that's when you look at the world's total global population. Though it is true that China and India are the countries that hold most people, there are many, many other countries, so that's why both of them together have less people than half the global population. Also, if you include the US, the top 3 countries with most people. Anyway, so I've warned about it before, and now basically the 28 EU member states disagree with Trump's annexation, and Wikipedia, the free CIA Vatican edited encyclopedia, also makes clear that annexation is generally considered to be an illegal act. That's wiki/annexation article. So yeah, any plan that might work, for example, also if they're transporting cancer oil, they might do it via another country. So then Iran transports it to some country that they're allowed to transport it to, and then via that country, China and India can get their cancer oil, with us only a slight margin to pay for the cost and perhaps make a few dollars, but then they're still cheaper off than when they would get it their oil from some other country than Iran, perhaps. Currently, the accord limits Iran to enriching uranium to 3.67%, which can fuel a commercial nuclear power plant. Weapons-grade uranium needs to be enriched to around 90%. However, once a country enriches uranium to around 20%, scientists say the time needed to reach 90% is halved. I have my doubts about that as well, and there are people out there that think that there's a nuclear hoax. So test everything you learn. Of course, radioactive bananas exist. Bananas are radioactive. So how bad can it be? Well, I think I'm not going to take any risks, so I did buy a radiological water filter, and my Geiger counter basically needs a new battery. But I'm not going to send it in now, because if it starts the 23rd, then it won't be back by that time, so I'd have to desolder the battery. I don't know if there would be an EMP, if then it would be fried if I don't get the battery out now. But that would be a useful tool to have, I think. A Geiger counter. Well, I must make a metal bin and put some stuff in there, I guess. But I really don't feel like it, and perhaps I won't do anything. Hopefully there are people that will save us, of the government, that will do the right thing, the thing they're supposed to do, and also save their own family and themselves. So these people all want to survive. Because of evolution, the drive to survive is incredible. And so everything is not yet lost. Faith no more. Currently, the accord limits Iran to enriching uranium. Oh yeah, I already read that, I think. However, so I remember that, wow. However, once a country enriches uranium to around 20%, scientists say the time needed. I read that as well, I think. Iranian officials say they have quadrupled their production of low enriched uranium, and will break the 300 kilogram limit by June 27th. So they could have not said anything until the, what was it, July 7th date or whatever. The July 7th deadline for Europe to come up with better terms for Iran to stay in the accord. So they could also make a move, already come up with better terms. That Iran could agree with. And then they can hold that against Trump if he would attack them, basically. But basically they're pretending that Iran is making a nuclear weapon. But even if they have one, they first have to have an agreement with Putin to avoid a world war. It's clear this may be their end game. And that's also clear from the fact that there's a video game now that's World War III. So I think this is really the end game, the planned world war. And no one really wants that if they thought about it. Mutually assured destruction, nuclear winter, possibly everybody annihilated with scalar technology that can only be blocked by a Tesla plasma shield. So then a fridge underground is not good enough. A fridge with a Tesla plasma shield, perhaps that's an idea. If you have the dough, perhaps they can build it for you. It's on YouTube also, but perhaps you won't need it. I think that they might pretend that it was just nuclear, and with the scalar weapons they can also make ionizing radiation, nuclear radiation, so that it seems like it was nuclear, basically. That little bleep was my cancer cell phone, don't know if you all heard it. Okay. Iran centrifuges. President Hassan Rouhani visits the Bushehr nuclear power plant in 2015 AP, Iranian President's Office Mohammed Berno. So he must have had access to that facility to photograph President Rouhani. So I usually say Rouhani because I bet they used electronic voting and I cannot call him president. I think it would be wrong. And I covered it in my previous broadcast as well on this channel, try Something.Vegetarian. I'm gonna get another pipe. A centrifuge is a device that enriches uranium by rapidly spinning uranium hexafluoride gas. Under the Atomic Accord, Iran has been limited to operating 5060 older model IR-1 centrifuges. So they're already limited, etc. Though you could argue there's no good reason to do that if even the Ayatollah Khamenei declared a fatwa against nuclear weapon production, then they might really not have any nuclear weapons and they might not be producing any. So anything that could lead to world war has to be avoided, not to speak about it, or to give the fellow humans a good idea that would avoid it and create universal peace instead, exposing whatever must be exposed and perhaps the people on the inside are the only ones that could help us, with Jesuits and Masons. Mozart was a Mason, and George Washington legalized it, and of course Richard Pryor is currently living Freemason. But do you know any other Freemason that's alive today? So there's Secret Society, and I liked him in Brewster's Millions, also in Superman. Those were awesome movies. Anyway, the IR-1 is based on a 1970s Dutch design that Pakistani scientist A.Q. Khan used to build Islamabad's nuclear weapons program and later sold to Iran, Libya, and North Korea. Oh, great. Iran has the technical ability to build and operate advanced versions called the IR-2M, IR-4 and IR-6 at Natanz, but is barred from doing so under the nuclear deal. Ali Akbar Salehi. So I don't think that the US won't do anything if they don't abide by their nuclear deal promises, their signed accord, contract, if you want to call it that, or agreement. Though it's between other countries, not the US and Iran. Ali Akbar Salehi, the head of Iran's nuclear program, told the Associated Press in September that the IR-2M and the IR-4 can enrich uranium 5 times faster than an IR-1, while the IR-6 can do it 10 times faster. Western experts have suggested these centrifuges produce 3 to 5 times more enriched uranium in a year than the IR-1s. Well, basically, when I think about it, you could argue they should be able to enrich the amount of uranium that they need, and they shouldn't be impeded unless there's real evidence that proves they are producing a nuclear weapon or that they already have nuclear weapons. And otherwise, other countries may disagree with sanctioning Iran, with annexations, and with designating the official Iranian army a terror group a la ISIS, etc. And this time, of course, it won't be like Iraq. This time Russia would respond, and that may actually be their plan. So I doubt if there will be another false flag type of event a la the WTC. And I use Allah instead of like because I don't like these things. So then I try to use the word like only when I actually like it. Oh yeah, I was reading this then. Iran has the technical ability to build and operate advanced versions called the IR-2M. We read that Western experts have suggested these centrifuges produce 3 to 5 times more enriched uranium in a year than the IR-1s. Iran also mothballed many already built centrifuges as part of the deal. From quote Atoms for Peace unquote to Stuxnet. Iran's nuclear program actually began with the help of the United States. So Stuxnet, that was basically sabotaged with a computer virus. And then they're lucky that there's no self-destruct mechanism building or anything like that. But they knew that before they did that. Probably they have through-the-wall radar and synthetic telepathy, so they're scanning our thoughts, not just our words and that come out of our mouths and the actions we take via 3D radar, through-the-wall radar. So it's all scalar, 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 which can be healing if they use healing frequencies. So I wouldn't call it a double-edged sword, because that can only cut and this can also heal. Iran's nuclear program actually began with the help of the United States under its quote Atoms for Peace unquote program. America supplied a test reactor that came online in Tehran in 1967 under the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. That help ended once Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution overthrew the Shah. So I would argue they cannot pose a threat, not even with nuclear weapons. And that the Iron Dome is not really the technology they have that could ward it all off is not true. That I think that 80% would be warded off, but they need Dr. Bernard Eastland's HARP patent, and they have these ionospheric heaters, so theoretically they could ward off all nukes. And perhaps there are no real nukes, and they're just gonna do this with the scalar weapon. They can make nuclear-sized explosions. But on an older map I've shown of these nuke targets in the Netherlands. Let's see. So I'm totally anti-5G. The rollout must be prevented and they should use scalar waves instead. They're faster, and some scalar waves travel faster than the speed of light. It's just Tesla's radiant energy, as explained in that patent. Tesla's scalar patents. Transmission of electrical energy. And a patent is not provided unless it's a working device. So he created this to end all wars, and he was a vegetarian like myself. Patented May 15, 1900, about 40 years before the first atomic nuclear tests, the Trinity. So it's possible nukes never had a chance. And the other thing they claim in that book Harmonic 33 is that a special harmonic relationship with the sun is required to set off nukes, and that airborne, so mobile nuclear weapons, nuclear rockets don't exist. They are ground detonated devices. It could be under the Statue of Liberty, etc. But these blast creators make clear that they have something that's clear. I was looking for that map with the nuke targets. I covered it in my previous broadcast if you want to see it. But airports, oh yeah, there it is. So I'm basically in between Amsterdam and Utrecht, and Soesterberg and Hilversum are also targets because they are airports. So I think this is an old map. So in the Netherlands they have to watch out if they're also gonna take the dikes out, and many people are not going to party. And perhaps I will also need to find another place with some shelter underground, away from airports. So I could consider going to another country, because if this house is underwater and blown away anyway, then there's no reason to stay here. It would be foolish. So that's the first thing to do, look for a safe country. If it happens, take cover, so go underground, below the blast wave if possible. And after that, ride like the wind, so the wind would blow in the direction the nuclear weapon made it blow, so then you have to travel in the direction the wind is blowing, basically. If you have to travel, but probably people will be home quarantined. May Masi uploaded this to Twitter. Supposedly Trump is the last president. They've planned a global government and introduction of global currency or something like that. So will Trump close the book on the UN? Would that also mean the end of the United Nations? You could see the United Nations as a form of global government already. And of course, they may have a shadow government and people waiting to take over already. They've planned everything. Plans for everyone. I'm kind of an automatisme, it's automatic. Okay. So then I can read this whole final part. With the text-to-speech engine. Trackball going a bit, have to clean it probably.
Iran also mothballed many already built centrifuges as part of the deal. From Atoms for Peace to Stuxnet, Iran's nuclear program actually began with the help of the United States. Under its Atoms for Peace program, America supplied a test reactor that came online in Tehran in 1967 under the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. That help ended once Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution overthrew the Shah. In the 1990s, Iran expanded its program, including buying equipment from Khan. Among its activities, Iran may have received design information for a bomb and researched explosive detonators, according to the International Atomic Energy Agency. By August 2002, Western intelligence services and an Iranian opposition group revealed a covert nuclear site at Natanz. Iran to this day denies its nuclear program had a military dimension. Iran suspended enrichment in 2003 but resumed it 3 years later under hardline President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. World powers imposed crippling UN sanctions in response. The Stuxnet computer virus, widely believed to be a joint US-Israeli creation, soon disrupted thousands of Iranian centrifuges.
And I've read that they've always misquoted Ahmadinejad, and that they're still doing that. That he never talked about wiping Israel off the map, which they did with Palestine, you could argue. But he said that Israel would fade in the hands of time or something like that. That's the more correct translation.
A string of bombings, blamed on Israel, targeted a number of scientists beginning in 2010 at the height of Western concerns over Iran's program. Israel never claimed responsibility for the attacks, though Israeli officials have boasted in the past about the reach of the country's intelligence services. Israel last year said it seized records from a secret atomic archive in Iran, Press Association.
And if there is a global government, then that's possible that all countries will cease to exist. And after that, there will only be a global government and the camps and things like that. So preventing beats curing. It's 2:20 already. Nobody wrote anything in the chat, so I don't have to broadcast 24 hours a day because almost nobody would see it anyway. And perhaps it's not gonna happen. I hope it's not gonna happen, of course. Think about it, not being able to use our computer and the grid down and everything. Internet kill switched and everything disrupted as much as possible to reduce that global population, but especially nuclear contamination. So I hope the dikes are not a target in the Netherlands, but according to that map we saw, they are. So then we also have to calculate that in. Perhaps I need to buy a diving suit. So basically, if the Netherlands would flood, then if you'd be in the cellar, that would be 5 feet below the water line, basically. 5 meters, yes, 5 feet. And there's a hoogtekaart map online where you can see how high you really are. So this is for Netherlands. You can also see it on Google Earth, the app basically, in the right bottom corner or something. If you right mouse click on the place that you want to know the height of, but it's less accurate. It wasn't accurate at all. Or one of these two is wrong basically, but I think this one may be quite accurate. So here we see Netherlands. And places that would be underwater, basically. But there's a better one. Or perhaps this is the better one. One where you can click to see the actual height. Ooh, that's the other one. So then I have to go via this one. The alternative is this one. Because on this one, when I click on it, it doesn't show me height either. And now it's kind of weird, small half map or something. Anyway, it doesn't matter. On this one, ahn.archisonline.nl. There we can just click. For example, over here, that's minus 4.8 meters. So Amsterdam, well, if the Tsar Bomba would get through, then the blast would even reach Meidrecht, basically. That's over here. Amsterdam. This is above sea level, so that wouldn't really be flooded. But everything that's dark green basically would be flooded if those dikes of Slight Dike would also be targeted. In The Hague, okay. Alrighty. So there we see The Hague. So that's all above sea level. So that's where the Dutch Builder King would be surviving. In the blast shelter bunker with fully equipped hospital staff, etc. So people in these areas have to find a safe area, perhaps before the 23rd, somewhere where they can go underground, away from airports. I may have to do that as well. So if you know of any bomb shelters near Meidrecht, then please let me know about this. Well, the problem with that is if it's not water resistant, and if it's in Meidrecht, then that wouldn't work basically. It would be flooded. So I have to think about it a little more. For now, I think that it's good to be prepared and to warn our fellow humans about the possible world war, so that more of us are prepared and can survive and help others to survive. Alright, so thank you all for watching. Tune in next time on Try Something.Vegetarian for universal peace. See you next time. Like, subscribe and share this important video on your timeline immediately. Over there somewhere. Oh, it was over here. The share button. Okay.